Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those who don't identify as either, you are listening to Ratchet and Respectable. So much to talk about this week. So much. I feel like I picked the most inopportune time to take the podcast from 2 episodes to 1. I'm not doing a second one right now, but still, I acknowledge that there's a lot going on, and I probably could do 2 episodes a week. The episodes have been averaging like an hour and 20 minutes, and I'm still not talking about everything there is to talk about. There's so much in entertainment, in politics, in good Black news too, and also just in life. Like I have so much going on right now. Oh my gosh. I went up to New York on Friday. Bevy Smith, author, actress, living legend. She hosts many things. One of her events is Dining with Bevy, not to be confused with Dinner with Bevy. That's a separate thing. She does an event called Dining with Bevy, Life with Vision, where she hosts a brunch, 4-hour brunch, and it's a seminar. There's like writing and notes and PowerPoint presentations. Her purpose is to help predominantly women. There were a lot of men in the room over the weekend, but to help people who want to level up their lives. I would say most of the people in the room were like 35 and up. And I mean up like, one woman was like, I turned 60 on Tuesday. And I was like, well, all right. Like people who just want to do more. Some people have a big dream and they just need a push to go chase it. And then there are other people who are in an unfulfilled state and they just don't know what's next. And so they're trying to figure out the vision. Bevy called me up maybe a month ago. And I've known Bevy since I was 21 years old. When I was in grad school, I was a Vibe intern. That was my first entertainment, quote unquote, job, even though I got paid nothing. I did start writing for the magazine, though. And I was like, y'all need to pay me. And they were like, we don't pay interns. And I was like, so how about if I show up every day and do the same thing that I'm doing as an intern, but when I write for the magazine, y'all actually like pay me like $1 per word. And they were like, okay. Vibe used to do these. They didn't call it branded content then. There was no social media. You would do the events and they take the pictures and then they'd publish them as like an advertorial in the magazine. But there was some event at Macy's and I just bought this Coach bag. It was leather. It was mahogany. It was like a barrel bag. I love a good barrel bag to this day. But Bevy came up to me and she complimented my bag. And I was like, I'm Demetria and I'm an intern at Vibe and blah, blah, blah. She said, I'm Bevy. It just hung in the air. Replaying it in my mind, it feels almost like a scripted TV show. That's what it felt like. And I was like, oh, that's Bevy. I was an intern in the music department, but oddly enough, like it was way serious over there. And then the fashion people, not that they weren't serious, but they were just a little more loose. I would hang out in the back of the office with them. And Bevy worked upstairs. She was in ad sales doing the fashion stuff. Every once in a while, I'd hear somebody mention Bevy, but I didn't know who Bevy was. It was very separation church and state. The whole time I interned at Vibe, like the whole year and a half, I never went upstairs on the sales floor on the business side. That's not the point. The point is, Bevy calls me out of the blue one day. She said she's doing this Dining with Vision. She hadn't done one in 2 years, and she wanted me to come speak at the event. I guess it was like 5-6 weeks out. And I was like, yeah, sure, because Bevy asked. So I was like, what are we talking about? She says, I want to talk to people about, living a big life and not being afraid to pivot, doing it scared and facing your fear. I was like, I'm very flattered that you see me that way and that you would, call and ask me to do this. And she was like, do you not see yourself that way? And I was like, I mean, I could, but no, not really. And she was like, should we talk about this? It was an interview, keynote. I didn't have to give a speech or anything. So many women in the room were either readers, were just aware of my career. A lot of them listened to the podcast. And they said such glowing and positive things about the way they appreciated me for showing up in various platforms, speaking out on various issues, and just inspiring folks of living my best life, single, dating, married, divorced, or otherwise. I feel like I got as much out of attending as the women who heard the conversation said that they received from what I shared. It was a really beautiful experience. Also, just 2 things. Being in Harlem, one, and then also not being in D.C. was very cathartic. I didn't realize the weight, the burden, the anxiety, if you will, that I've been carrying because of everything that's happening in politics and culture, but also in real life. There are listeners at this point all over the country, all over the world. If you don't live in DC, not that you don't feel the impact, because everybody feels it. When you watch the news and they're talking about 10,000 people laid off here or 20,000 people laid off here, or this whole department of whatever, just Department of Education, USAID, whatever, they're just dismantling the whole thing. HHS. I was reading a story earlier today. People didn't know they were fired, so they showed up to work and their cars weren't working. And they were like, is this a joke? Because today's April 1st. It wasn't. If you don't live in DC, or there's federal workers all over the country, but it's pretty centralized in DC. You hear on the news that USA just got shut down and like all these people have no jobs. And then you go out and then like your friends work for USA. Or even if they haven't been fired, they're federal workers and they show up to work every day not knowing if they are or not going to be fired. And then they receive like all these crazy ass emails. And then they receive all these crazy ass emails telling them like, go better yourself and get a real job in private sector. And it's like, I've been working here for 20 years. It's like, you don't value me at all. No, it's really demoralizing. And then Black Lives Matter Plaza, like life existed before the plaza went up. Like I went to go see it shortly after it went up. I want to say it was during COVID. So I was living in LA, but I was spending a lot of time in DC. It's not like anything substantially changes now that the words on the street are gone. But when it was put down, it was a sign from the city. There are people who call it a terrorist organization. There are people who are all lives matter, people who diminish it, people who genuinely just don't think Black lives matter, which is the bare minimum, It's not like, which is the bare minimum, just acknowledging like somebody's life matters, and people couldn't even do that. It felt good to be seen. It felt good to be acknowledged that at the bare minimum, your life matters. It also meant something to see it erased. And not just erased. It wasn't just paint on the street. They had to go dig up the actual street. Like they went in there with the drills and tore the street up and then laid down new, whatever it is, pavement to erase it. And it took weeks. Like I want to say they started like 2 or 3 weeks ago and it just got done yesterday, a couple days ago. Not just painted over, but literally destroyed. And then on the heels of that, the current administration attacks the Blacksonian, National Museum, African American History and Culture. Nobody here calls it that. We call it the Blacksonian. I knew it was coming. I didn't want to be right about it. It just seemed like the next logical step because there's a full-out assault on Black history, Black culture, Black people. They haven't really done a full rev up on Black people yet, at least not Black Americans. The emotional and psychological assault for sure. But the physical assault, we just dealing with the regular like on 12 that we've been dealing with, for like 400 years. I also remember when the Blacksonian opened. I remember going to the opening of the Blacksonian, and I remember driving down like at the crack of dawn from New York for the press opening. And my kid, she's grown. That girl's more successful than me. Gia Peppers, that's my baby. I don't think Gia was on the press list. Gia's from here. But Gia was like, oh no, I'm coming. And I was like, well, what if you can't get in? And she was like, I'm going to get in. And did. But yeah, me and Gia hopped in the car like bright and early one morning to drive down to DC, went straight into the Smithsonian and just walked around for hours. Was it Nat Turner's Bible? I think that was the first thing that struck me. Or like when you first go in and they there's a pile of sugar in one of the exhibits. And it's like before cotton, it was this. It was one of the rare times I've been to a museum in America that told the true history of slavery. So white people came and they put Black people in chains, and it was a really evil, terrible institution. And people who were minding their own business, who were leaders and lovers and farmers and goat herders and just all types of people who were minding their business, white folks came and put them in chains and took them away. And it wasn't just, one group of white folks. It was the Portuguese and it was the English and it was the Dutch. It was basically all of Europe was complicit in this bullshit. And here are the people in the United States of America. This is their life and their culture and their history and their tale of survival. Emmett Till's casket. Reese Taylor, this was years before the documentary on her. I'd never heard her name before, but it was a small, like, newspaper clipping out of one of, like, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000. How many artifacts are in that museum? Gia and I walked around and tried to read every single caption. And it was the first time I heard of Reese Taylor, Black woman, wife, mother, minding her business. And some white men rolled up on her and raped her. They offered to pay off her husband to make the whole situation go away. And he took the money. It's one thing to understand, like, a general shit was bad. And then it's another thing to, like, get the, like, the real stories about real people. And here's a name and here's a picture. And this is what happened to her. And it was unjust. Emmett Till's casket. I didn't go see that till the second time I went. I wasn't ready. Because you feel like you're in the funeral, not the procession, but you feel like you're inside the church. It's an important museum. For people who have not been, like, it starts, it's 4 levels, I believe. And you start on the bottom floor, and it's like going down into the slave ship, going back in time into history. And the further you progress up, I guess it's in chronological order, but it takes you from sadness to joy. And the sadness is really sad. Like, once you get through, like, I guess, like, the first 2 floors, or the basement and the first floor, I guess, there's, like, literally a room to go sit in with the fountain. Water is cleansing. The sound of water is cleansing. But, like, for folks to go sit in there and, like, self-soothe, because, slavery and segregation, Jim Crow, sharecropping, all of that shit is bad. But it's our history. I take pride in it. The good, the bad, the ugly, because we're still here. As bad as it is right now, we're still here. We are evidence of resistance. If the folks before us, if our ancestors just gave up, like, we wouldn't be here. We are evidence of resistance. I say all that to say, when I saw that the administration had issued an executive order to basically whitewash the Smithsonian, I don't remember the exact phrasing and I don't feel like looking it up, but it was something like, take out, I don't know, divisive interpretations of American history, things that paint America in a bad light. I mean, essentially. And then they put J.D. Vance over deciding, like, what is good and what is bad. And I was like, they about to pretend slavery didn't happen. And it's not just the Blacksonian. There's a women's history museum that's in the works. They're banning stuff from that. They ban any mention of transgender people, transgender women specifically, from the Women's Museum. And I was like, why do y'all care so much about this 1%, if even, of the whole population? The trans folks ain't the one causing a ruckus. They be minding their business. Y'all care more about the trans folks than y'all do about the priests. And we know for sure they touching on the kids. The Museum for Native Americans, that one's under fire too. So it's not just us. It doesn't make me feel better that other groups are being attacked. I think with the Blacksonian, it's like a lot of work went into that museum. And it's on the National Mall. It's a gorgeous museum. They put a lot of money into it. They put a lot of work into it. I took a lot of pride just in, being from here, being from the area that the museum existed. And they're also just, just being Black, that the museum existed, being seen. The same thing I said about Black Lives Matter Plaza. Like, it's important to feel seen. It's important to feel as though you matter. It's important to feel as though, I knew that was going to happen. It's important to feel as though your history, that your culture matters. In so many ways, folks just denigrate Black culture. They just reduce it to, like, just the dumbest and most ignorant of shit. Just only the ratchet. And I ain't got nothing against the ratchet, but I was like, there is ratchet, but there's also respectable, and there's also variations of all of that. So we are a multifaceted, complicated people. I saw somebody the other day and was like, why do Black Americans only eat white rice? Like, how did everybody else get some version of Jollof and y'all didn't? And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? We do eat white rice for sure, but I was like, we also eat, like, red beans and rice and Hoppin' John and, like, and fried rice. Like, we do rice. There's tomato gravy and yellow rice in my refrigerator right now. Actually, maybe not. I think my dad ate it for breakfast. That's not the point. Just like, the diaspora wars, and people are like, oh, Black Americans have no culture. It's like, no, we have culture. You don't respect it. And I would just rather appreciate it that you say that than to say, like, oh, we have nothing. Of course we have culture. We had a lot of West African culture, as a matter of fact, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, I get to New York and take the train up this time. I don't drive. I roll into Penn Station, and to get from 34th Street to 125th Street is 40 minutes in an Uber, and it's $50. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Because I used to be able to go from 125th Street all the way to Crown Heights, Brooklyn for $50. From 34th Street to 125th. I'm like, fuck it. I'll take the train. I don't have a big bag. The train was what, $2.75? I remember when it was $1. Oh my God. And I hop on the train and I go up to 125th Street. And Harlem is Harlem. It's like, it's the middle of the day. It's Friday. It's one of the first nice days of the year. Maybe like the first 70-degree day. Everybody outside. Black people's outside. Niggas is outside. And it's a block and a half to get to the Renaissance Hotel, which is next to the Apollo. By the way, the Renaissance Hotel in Harlem, somebody who oversees Renaissance Hotel had the bright idea to make the theme of the Renaissance Hotel in Harlem, Harlem Renaissance. So when you get to the hotel and the doors open, it's like either Louis Armstrong, Josephine Baker, and I think Duke Ellington. Pretty sure it's Duke Ellington. Like, the doors open and there's these gigantic images of them. You get into the lobby and there's like I believe it's stained glass, or it's a painting that looks like stained glass, of Billie Holiday. But the whole thing is like this Harlem Renaissance theme. Like, I got up to my room and there's poetry by Langston Hughes on the mirrors. Like, you just surrounded in blackness, black excellence at that. But I'm walking to the hotel, and the hotel is literally next door to the Apollo. But there's a sign on the marquee of the Apollo, and it just reads like, Black Lives Matter. And I stopped in the middle of the street. In the way that I'm tearing up now, I got choked up in the middle of the street. And I was like, I can't cry in the street in Harlem. I mean, not that anybody would care. There was an unhoused man just sort of laying on the ground, kind of in the middle of the sidewalk. It's New York, so people just walked around. The marquee flashes again. It says, love Black women. Black women's lives matter. It was just a whole series of just affirmations, if you will, for Black folks. And it took everything in me. I got so choked up. There's a big knot in my throat. And it took everything in me not to sob in the middle of the street. I didn't realize how bad off I was. Just how much everything that's going on, politically, is affecting my mental health. The psychological warfare of it. It's so bad right now. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. It's so bad. It's bad everywhere. It's just because I'm right next door to DC, which is ground zero for this mess. The next thing they're going to do in DC, which they've already started hinting at, there are murals of Black people, a lot of Black women, on several buildings in DC. There's already been a complaint about the murals and how they are distracting to drivers. And I was like, you don't care about the murals that are pictures of the Capitol. We know exactly what you mean. It was a Black city, chocolate city, until 15 years ago. So there are pictures of Black people everywhere because that reflected the residents of the city. And then now you're trying to erase us. Theoretically, I know we can't be erased, but just to know that your own government is actively trying, it's heavy. I went to, I swear this is not an ad for the Renaissance Hotel. I just happened to stay there and it was great. One of my friends came to meet me at the hotel, and they have a restaurant in the lobby, the Victoria. They have music from 7 to 11, a live band. And I was having dinner with my friend, and the band started playing Weak, SWV. From the first note, I don't know what it is that you've done to me. The entire restaurant sang the entire song. There was a singer, and she had a microphone. I didn't hear one note that lady sang, not on that song. The entire restaurant sang the entire song and just got louder when I get so weak in the knees, I can hardly speak, I lose all control. It was great. It was absolutely wonderful. It just felt really, really good to be with Black folk. There were white people at the hotel when I got in there. They were staying there. They would get off the elevator and then walk into the chaos that was, Black people singing in unison, loud, kind of drunk. And they would look around what's happening? And then by the time they got to the reception desk, they would start they might not know the words, but they were trying to rock a little offbeat. They were getting in the spirit. People keep asking, like, "Are you back?" I'm like, "Define back. Do you mean back in DC? Do you mean back in America? Like, do you mean back for good? Back for how long? Like, what do you mean?" I don't know the answers to any of those questions. One of the reasons that I am here and have been here since December, I think people forget or maybe just didn't know. I talked about it, but I realized people don't pay attention to everything that I do. I told you I had surgery. So, like, I needed to recover. That was important. I'm just now starting to feel like my complete self. When I carried the bag up and down the steps, when I was coming to and from the subway, I wasn't able to do that 6 weeks ago. I'm back, sort of, for now, for as long as I have been this time. And I'm also flying out again next week. So, take that with a grain of salt. The best way I could describe it is I wanted to be able to sing along with the band and the crowd in restaurants. Like when I'm in Ghana, when I'm in South Africa, like I can hear a song and then everybody goes up. Some sort of song that's really important to the culture. I can Shazam the song to find out what it is, right? Or if it's in another language, I can ask my friend to interpret it for me. If you weren't alive, and at least like in junior high school in the 90s, how do you explain to somebody like the importance of week? How do you accurately explain to somebody like the cultural context of week? Like you had to be there. I never really feel at home when I'm other places because it's not home. I feel comfortable to a degree. Is it home home? Never. Because it's not. Sitting in a restaurant, kind of tipsy, eating fried green tomatoes, while the whole room seems weak in unison, feels like home. That's why I'm back. We have a lot to talk about this week. That was just like the intro. We didn't even get into the good shit. As I speak, let me double check. It is Monday at 3:52 p.m. At 7 p.m. last night, let me double check. I'm on YouTube. Yep, Cory Booker is still going. Cory Booker has been speaking since 7 p.m. last night in protest of all the crazy shit that is happening to our country under this new regime. Cory Booker he's not like an orator, if you will. He's not like a Michelle Obama or a Barack Obama. He doesn't have a big personality like Jasmine Crockett. He doesn't have, I don't know, whatever that je ne sais quoi is that Pelosi has or Maxine Waters. There's nothing particularly big or outstanding about his personality. I met him when he was running for president. There's a gentleman, I do not know this man's full name. He is just referred to as the ambassador. And he lives in Muhammad Ali's old house in a gated part of the city. Their backyard, not even a backyard, it's like a side yard. It's like the size of a public park. It's insane. And their family room, dining room, living room looks like the top floor of the Blacksonian. You know how it has like all like the contemporary art? Cory Booker speaking, and there's like a piece on the mantle behind him. And I'm trying to figure out like, where have I seen that before? And I was like, oh, because there's something very similar by the same artist in the Smithsonian. I'm an art junkie, and the ambassador is like the coolest person on earth. I'm like, do you know you're an ambassador? But also because he's like really good with people is probably why he's an ambassador. That's not the point. He has original Tiffany stained glass in one of the windows in the house that you can see from the backyard. And I asked, and I was like, oh, that looks like original Tiffany's. And just given like the design of the house, I'm in architecture and shit. I was like, oh, this house has got to be from around that time. And I was like, oh, is that original Tiffany's? And he was like, why do you know that? And I was like, oh, the architecture thing. I was like, I like art and I like architecture. And I was like, I saw, you had a XYZ piece on the mantle. So he gave me like an art tour of the house. It was great. None of this is the point. The point is Cory Booker was at the house for a fundraiser. And I thought he was a very nice man. I thought he was smart. I thought he was genuine. I thought he was too good to be a politician. He doesn't have, seemingly, it doesn't come across. Somebody pointed out to me, like, he's been in the Senate forever. Like, he has to have some shrewdness and he has to have some, like, it's either me or you and it ain't going to be me kind of philosophy. He has to have some sort of cutthroat. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to survive in New Jersey politics, which point taken, fully heard and acknowledged. He just seems like a genuinely good person to the point that I was like, he's not presidential. Not to say he's not a good leader. Not to say he wouldn't be good at the job. He just doesn't have that, to me, that like oomphy thing. Watching him, I watched some of him last night. And then I like went to sleep, and then I woke up in the middle of the night and I watched some more of him. Like he was still going. And then like I woke up this morning at like, I don't know, 9 o'clock and he was still going. And now I'm checking YouTube again and he's still going. We keep saying we want people to like just do something, and he's doing something. It didn't really start off seeming very profound. Like, okay, so you're going to filibuster, but you're not really blocking anything. So is it technically a filibuster? No, it's not. He's speaking on the Senate floor and he's putting into the congressional record all the crazy shit that this current administration is doing. And if he'd done it for an hour, most people probably wouldn't have paid attention. Even if he did it for 2, 3, 4, 5. But the fact that people were like, oh, okay, he's doing this thing. And then you went to bed and woke up in the morning and he's still doing it. He can't sit down. People ask him long questions to give him a chance to like, just take a rest, let his voice rest for a while. He can't go to the bathroom. There's speculation that he had a catheter installed so that he can, do his business without having to leave the podium. Someone else suggested that maybe he has on Depends in conjunction. And I was like, yo, there's a lot of dedication. This man, Cory Booker, Senator Booker, just reading or speaking, putting it into words. This is wrong. And this is crazy. And this is bad. And here are the examples. And here are letters from the American people. The administration keeps saying like, oh, people love what we're doing. People are very happy what we're doing. His press secretary, that little Nazi Barbie, like just lies 24/7. She's not the only one. I mean, they all do it. Elon, Trump, the little drunk, the little lapdog, Rubio, Bondi, just lies. They all just lie. And Cory Booker is like documenting all of the crazy shit that's happening, the Social Security stuff, the stuff with the farmers, the Medicaid stuff, the stuff with the farmers. Like, it's a long, long list of atrocities. I saw somebody on social media earlier today. I had to screenshot it. I think I'm just at wit's end because I don't usually get this upset about certain things. Penn Anderson, an author, is on Threads. At the time I screenshotted it, over 15,000 people had liked the comment. The comment was, Senator Booker gave proof through the night. He'd been up there like 17 hours at the time that I saw this. Penn Anderson summarized, Senator Booker gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. I ain't the most patriotic person ever. Black America, sure. America as a whole, I'm like, we have a good day every now and again. The Obama years were pretty great. I mean, we still had problems, but it was better than most. Cory Booker has given a hope that I haven't felt in months. It took me a while to get hopeful when Kamala was announced. And I never went full throttle into that hope because I didn't want to be disappointed again after what happened with Hillary. But I did get a little hopeful. But I ain't had no hope, like none whatsoever, since November. But watching Cory Booker stand at that podium all of last night, all through the night, all of this morning, and as of right now, well into the evening, he said he's going to stand up there until he passes out. God bless him. There's a nationwide protest on the 5th, on Saturday. And really, when I heard about it, I had no intention of going out there. I do agree with Dr. Martin from last week's episode when I asked her, and I was like, people are like, Black women aren't doing anything. And she was like, is that true? She's like, Black women are doing stuff for each other. And so I guess when I was saying that, like, maybe it's time to do something, I was saying, like, okay, like, so yes, do our stuff for us, but like, maybe join the larger movement. And then, Dr. Martin was like, hey, like, white folks did this. Like, because Black folks voted for Kamala. We tried to warn everybody. It was like, hey, vote for the the smart Black lady, because the alternative is really, really bad. And, folks didn't listen. So she was like, let them clean up their own shit. Let them figure it out. Let them gain muscle memory from this moment of how bad it is when they just, vote the wrong way or don't give a fuck, however we ended up in this situation. And I was like, yes, I agree. I feel you. But also watching Cory Booker stand up here again, like we're rapidly approaching our, 21? I'm inspired to do something. I'm not telling anybody else what to do, but I feel like maybe it's time for me, just me, to like go do something. I'll tell you what the other thing is. It's not the Black Lives Matter sign, and it's not even the Blacksonian. Well, it's many things. It's the signal scandal from last week of which no one has been fired. No one has seemingly been reprimanded. There seems to be nothing big that's going to come out of that massive story. And I was like, no, y'all dragged Hillary for like years over those goddamn emails. We just going to let like a huge breach of national security, like we just going to turn the other cheek on that and be like, well, that's seemingly the conclusion to that, which I was like, how? Y'all run around for like months now talking about DEI shit and throwing Black people and women people and gay people and disabled people, veteran people, trans people under the damn bus. And then this is what y'all do? And no heads roll for it? Not even one? We're being governed by idiots, and it's dangerous. The rest of the world has turned their backs on us. I don't know what's about to happen. Is it April 2nd, April 4th with this tariff war? And I'm like, can we even afford shit? They're idiots. So there's that. One of the other things, I heard the stories about the graduate students, many of them from Columbia, at least 2 or 3 of them from Columbia, being essentially snatched off the street. All of them are brown. All of them have been here legally, and then their immigrant status has just randomly changed. They're suddenly told that they're illegal because you went to a protest, because you were opposed to the genocide of the Palestinian people. You wanted Israel to stop bombing Palestine into the Stone Ages, that now you're a terrorist. You spoke out or organized protest on your campus. In one case, the lady, she's like, I signed my name to a document that a whole bunch of people signed. Or I was on campus and I wasn't even participating. Like, the protests were all across the campus. You couldn't go from one place to another. I was in a place where folks got rounded up. I wasn't even arrested. I don't even know how my name is caught up in this shit. But like, now you're being snatched off the street by like unidentified people with their face covered. What the fuck? Still not it. The thing that pushed me over the edge, along with Cory Booker, this story broke on the Atlantic, the same Atlantic where, the editor-in-chief, they accidentally added him into the group chat. And then they tried to pretend. They were like, his number wasn't even in my phone. Of course it was. And they were like, well, maybe he hacked the chat. Shut up. They just lie. This story broke last night on the Atlantic. There's a man in Maryland. He's a father. He's married. He and his wife were raising 3 children together. One of the children is autistic. The detail comes up again later. The new regime, the administration, has conceded at least. I guess they were accused of it. It was like, no. And then they finally were like, okay, fine, you got us. They've conceded. I'm reading this on CNN. In a court filing that they mistakenly deported a Maryland father to El Salvador. The Supermax prison in El Salvador, the one where they're putting people essentially in cages, 80 people to a cage, and they're feeding them slop 3 times a day, and there's one bathroom. Not even like a go in a room, just an open toilet for like 80 people. And there's like a trough where people are like eating their food out of, like animals, where they're let out of their cells for 1 hour a day, and they make them sit on the floor and sing gospel songs. They don't let them communicate with the outside world. They don't let them call or see their families. I think it was 240 people were picked up off the street and sent there. No due process. The administration defied a court order. They were like, ground those planes, turn them around. Do not take those people over there. They did it anyway. Nothing's happened to them. Nothing. Nobody's been arrested. They're stonewalling the judge. The judge keeps going off on them every day. But I was like, hold these motherfuckers in contempt and put them in jail. But now the administration is like, yeah, we sent them over there. It was an administrative error. Our bad. But also, we can't return him because we don't have custody anymore. Like, he's over in El Salvador. And like, we're America. We don't have jurisdiction over El Salvador. So there's nothing we could do. What? Y'all sent a random man who y'all admit it was a mistake to send him. He's over there and y'all just like, yeah, our bad. Like when you leave something on the plane, like you leave a book or you leave a something, like that's damn, my bad. It's just a whole person. It's a whole human. He's also somebody's husband. He's also 3 people's father. And y'all know y'all did it. Y'all acknowledge y'all did it. Y'all say, we made a mistake. Administrative error. We weren't supposed to do that. But you did it. And then now you're like, my bad. Nigga. It's too much to fathom. His name is Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, i.e. ICE, has accused him of being a gang member. Again, no due process, This is just an accusation. They say that he's in this gang called MS-13. His attorneys say otherwise. His wife says otherwise. He was arrested on March 12th after completing his shift at a construction site. So a gainfully employed man. They were trying to find him, and they went to his job, and he was there because he's consistently working. The press secretary, Nazi Barbie, she acknowledged that there was an administrative error that led to his deportation. And then she added that without providing evidence, she said that he was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang. And then she went further to say that he was a leader. And the press asked her, they said, okay, like, that's what you say, provide evidence. And she said, there's a lot of evidence. And the Department of Homeland Security and ICE have that evidence. And I saw it this morning. Okay, release it then. Release it. And even still, if you're saying he's a gang member and you have evidence that he's a gang member, get a man his due process. Hey, you say you're not, we say you are. Each of us going to make our case. A judge is going to decide. And then we decide that the government has enough evidence. And okay, well, you got to go. I can live with that. But just picking a man up off the street and we supposed to believe Nazi Barbie just because she says, oh, I've seen the evidence. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. You're lying because you always lie. CNN interviewed the man's wife. She's 29, just like him. She's an American citizen. They've been married since 2019. She said when he was arrested, he was in the car with his son. She said she got a call from the Department of Homeland Security telling her that she had 10 minutes to pick up the kid or Child Protective Services would be called. She said when she got there, they told her husband's immigration status had changed and they were taking him away. She did see her husband. She said she placed the crying child in a car seat and she said goodbye to him, and he was also crying. She said she hasn't heard from her husband since March 15th. He said he was being deported to El Salvador and he sounded scared. She said their son has been very distressed since his father has been gone. He cannot speak, but he shows me how much he misses his father. He's been finding his father's work shirts and smelling them. He has been crying and acting out more than usual. This has been a nightmare for my family. My faith in God carries me, but I am exhausted and heartbroken. My children need their father. I need to know when my husband is coming home. This isn't right. None of it's right. None of it. And it's just seemingly getting worse every single day. I swear this wasn't what I came on the podcast to talk about. I don't know right now how I can talk about pop culture and entertainment without talking about like the current state of our country, which is, for Black folks, it ain't never been good. It's rapidly deteriorating. This man ain't even been in office a full 3 months yet. Like we're 3 weeks shy of a full 3 months. We're just over 2 months, and it's just nonstop chaos every single day. And he's talking about he want to run for a third term. I can't say what I want to say. I don't want the FBI come looking for me. Luigi? Don't nobody else want to be a hero? They talking about giving that man a death penalty because he shot like the CEO of United Healthcare. Which, look, I understand like a premeditated murder, first degree murder, bad. I understand he has to be in prison for that. But I was like, why is this man's life like death penalty versus, I don't know, any of the people to go shoot up them schools? I mean, sometimes it's like a disgruntled child who's got their own like mental health issues. But sometimes it's grown ass people doing that shit. Like none of those people, like the guy who went and shot up all those people in Vegas that time, there was no death penalty for that. Remember the guy who ran up on the massage parlor and like killed all them people? Like there was no death penalty for that. The dude who drove his car in Centerville and killed all those people. The dude who did it down in New Orleans, was it Mardi Gras? Was there a death penalty charge for that? The Black people who were sitting in the church praying, Christians. Is it a death penalty for that? They took that motherfucker to McDonald's. No, Burger King. Jasmine Crockett. I like Jasmine. She's in trouble. Again, they stay with her name in her mouth, but she stay talking all the time too. A couple episodes ago, like I talked about Jasmine Crockett, she did that little TikTok type dance right before the State of the Union. And I was like, ma'am, this is not the dancing time. You want to be an influencer? Or you want to be a congresswoman? Like, choose. You want to use like a dance trend or something to get people to pay attention so you can put out a message? No problem. No problem. But just doing that shit just for attention? No. I said something about it. And then the following week, I was like, leave her alone. They were like, oh, she's like cosplaying like she's from the hood or she's ghetto, but she went to all these really great schools. And I was like, wait, when did she get hood? She loud. She got a lot of eyelashes and a lot of hair, but she don't read as hood to me. I mean, for the love of God, she's a congresswoman. That's not hood. What is your definition of hood? Is this like DEI where the definition is just like anybody not white? But the complaint this week, apparently she owns a bunch of houses. They're saying that she owns like a $1 million home here, $1 million home there, $1 million home everywhere. To which she responded and she was like, could I get the keys? Because I want to see these houses. But I was also kind of like, okay, so Jasmine Crockett is, 42, 43, right? Let's say she went straight to undergrad, straight through law school. She would be a lawyer by 25, 26. So before she entered Congress, she would have had a career as a lawyer somewhere between, let's say, 17, 18 years. Like, did you expect her to be broke? Maybe she does have a bunch of real estate. Maybe they're overinflating the price of the real estate. But I was like, you expected her to be a whole lawyer who went to all these really great expensive schools, because they pointed that out. And they were like, she went to like this really privileged high school. And then she also went to this like really expensive college and this really expensive law school. Like, oh, okay. So she's really well educated. And like, you expected her to be broke? Why? She's also in hot water. She gave a speech. She called the governor of Texas. She's a congresswoman from Texas. She called the governor of Texas. She referred to him as Hot Wheels. He's in a wheelchair. She said, which I was like, girl, you trying it. She said she did not call him Hot Wheels because he's in a wheelchair. She said she called him that because of, quote, his terrible policies. She says, I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants into communities led by Black mayors, deliberately stoking tension and fear among the most vulnerable. Literally, the next line I said was that he is a hot-ass mess, referring to his terrible policies. She said the outrage about her saying Hot Wheels is, quote, another distraction. She continued, instead of obsessing over and hanging on to my every word, maybe my political foes should focus on doing the work of the people who elected us to improve their lives. She continued, I'm even more appalled that the very people who unequivocally support Trump, a man known for racially insensitive nicknames, that would be Pocahontas, the Blacks. I say the Blacks with love. He wasn't saying the Blacks with love. He's like, the Blacks love me. No, we don't. She also pointed out that Trump mocks those with disabilities. Remember the reporter? And he made like some gesture with his hands, like the reporter had a condition that limited his movement. It was such a nasty, ugly display. Something you would see children do it and you would correct them. I think he did that when he was running for president. People often say like I don't understand how he got past that moment. Like that was one of the very first where we were like, this guy's like unfit. Like he has no basic social decorum. Like he's an animal. But they were like, how did he make it past like mocking a disabled reporter and somehow like that wasn't too much or too far or too offensive to people? But she says, I can't believe the people who, support Trump are now outraged about what I'm saying. On the internet, people from Texas, I was like, I need somebody to produce receipts. I haven't seen it. They were like, a common nickname for him is Governor Hot Wheels. Maybe it's one of those things that, Black people be saying inappropriate shit. Maybe that's one of those things you say in private, but, as an elected official, you're not supposed to say. I've also heard people say that, Governor Abbott has referred to his own self as Hot Wheels. Like he knows he's in a wheelchair. Receipts. Does anybody have this on video? That's all I'm saying. You say it, he said it, receipts. You say it, other people say it, receipts. Help Jasmine out. She needs some help. I think she was being an ass. I do think she said it because he's in a wheelchair. I'm just keeping it 100. I'm only going to be but so mad about it. I'm sorry. Last week or the week before on this podcast, I had to address people flipping on me because I'm holding the line on domestic violence, particularly strangling someone. People just don't think it's a big deal. Like, okay, you strangled her, but like, did she die? Folks make the argument, and I tear it up when it comes to certain things. It's like, you know what? White people get away with this shit all the time. And so, like, I'm not holding a black person's foot to the fire over it. And usually when they say that, it's about really heinous shit. Like, it's like, well, R. Kelly did it, but like, folks were okay with Epstein. Or like, this celebrity got away with it, but like, what about Weinstein? Or like this person, they got into domestic violence issues with their spouse or whatever, but they went on to win an Oscar. So why should we all be upset with Jonathan Majors? We're literally talking about situations when there's like intentional harm, where like literally someone is being abused or assaulted or like attempted murder. I think Jasmine Crockett was wrong. Full stop. Am I going to like go crazy and hold her feet to the fire over it? No. Slap her on the wrist and move on. We as in the people, we as in the culture, we as in the zeitgeist, keep talking about like we want the Democrats to like do more. Like, you're trying to be polite. You're trying to hold this moral high ground. Like, even I've said it. I'm like, so y'all want to have the moral high ground, and then all y'all have left is the moral high ground. While Republicans or MAGA even have the Senate, the Supreme Court, and both houses of Congress. But you got the moral high ground. What? And I was like, no, I want Democrats to get gully. I want them to meet people where they are. Like when they go low, you go to hell. This is sometimes what it looks like. They say crazy shit every day, all day. I was watching something the other day, Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was a reporter from England, a white lady. She was trying to ask Marjorie Taylor Greene something, and she just flipped on the lady. Like, she was just yelling at her. She was like, I'm not answering your question. I only want to talk to American journalists. Like, just some real, like, rude and xenophobic shit. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, who acts like that? And she was just like shouting. She was like so belligerent about it. These people who act like this are the type of folks that like you want folks to be upset because like you've insulted. Like, oh, Demetria, you must be better than that. No. He's a Republican governor of Texas. Ain't women down there dying left and right because they won't treat them when they have any sort of medical issues because they're like, oh, but the baby. I'm like, oh, but the woman carrying the baby. Oh, last but not least, evidence of resistance. Hakeem Jeffries, along with Chuck Schumer. Remember we were mad at Chuck? I mean, we still mad at Chuck for voting not to shut the government down. There was a line in that bill, which at the time nobody cared to fully read, evidently, is what transferred the Smithsonian under the executive branch so that Trump now has power over it. That bill is why the Blacksonian is about to be curated, is what they're calling it, but whitewashed. Hakeem Jeffries, who folks have been complaining for months, self included, was like, hey, you're not doing enough. Do more. Say something. Do something. Democracy Docket, they have the story. It says the Democratic Party is suing President Donald Trump over his sweeping executive order last week that attempted to wrest control of elections from the states. It was filed on Monday on behalf of Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and 4 national Democratic committees. The lawsuit alleges Trump's order is an illegal attempt to control how elections are administered, a power the Constitution grants to the states and to Congress. According to the lawsuit, in the United States of America, the president does not get to dictate the rules of our elections. It says the order extensively reflects the president's personal grievances, conspiratorial beliefs, and election denialism. The order has drawn widespread pushback from election officials and voting rights advocates who warn it could disenfranchise millions of voters. If it stands, the order could make registering to vote and voting by mail more difficult and could make it easier for Trump to tilt elections in the GOP's favor. It will also make voting more difficult for military members serving overseas and married women who have changed their name. Among its directives, Trump's order commands that the Attorney General take all necessary action against any states that count absentee or mail-in ballots received after Election Day. They're trying to crack down on voting by mail. And through the order, he's also attempting to control the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, EIC, a bipartisan independent body created by Congress to help states improve the country's election infrastructure. They say he has no authority under the federal law to do that. The change would also prevent Americans who lack easy access to documents, such as passports, from registering to vote through the national mail voter registration form. It also directs the EAC to recertify all election equipment, like vote counting and ballot marking machines. The certification process would likely take years, and in the meantime, elections in several states and D.C. could be disrupted. Oh, hell no. I didn't know all this was happening. So we complained. We were like, Hakeem Jeffries, like, you're not doing enough. He's trying to do something. Is it enough? I don't know. This is so demoralizing. Jesus. We do have good Black news this week. Othello on Broadway with Denzel. Denzel. Did I say this in a previous episode? It says Denzel Washington and Jake Gyllenhaal's Broadway production of Othello. I think we did talk about this. We talked about how high the tickets were. I'll repeat it just because I'm proud. Has become the highest grossing play in Broadway history, earning over $2.8 million in just 8 preview performances. They did 2.8 in previews? I mean, I know it's Denzel. Oh, I'm sorry. Correction. CBS News. They pulled 2.8 million in a single week. You know, Candy and Todd. They charging $921 dollars in dineros to see Denzel. I ain't saying he ain't worth it. I'm just saying that's too high for my blood. It's not the point. The point is, Candy and Todd are producers in this play. Candy will make a coin, won't she? She will make a coin. She'll spend one well, too, because she went and hired D-Hawk. I think that's the stylist name. Remember when Fantasia was on tour for The Color Purple, and every time she stepped out, she had her good shit on? Candy went and hired that stylist for everything leading up to and the opening night for Othello. She has been looking fucking amazing. She wasn't hard on the eye to begin with. She did what she was supposed to do with money. She looks amazing. Good for her. She had an Asteriano dress for opening night. He been designing his ass off as of late. We have other good Black news this week. Tamron Hall. She celebrated 1,000 episodes of the Tamron Hall show. Congratulations to her. She had Robin on for her 1,000th episode. I think Robin had on a pink suit. I love Robin. I really love Robin. But she and Robin were cutting up. They looked like they forgot the cameras were rolling. They were just cutting up. Remember Robin on Good Morning America? She was doing the fan dance. She was like bent over and had like a stank face. Like she was really into it. She did that again on Tam Show. They were so cute. Congratulations to Tamron Hall. Very proud of her. Charlemagne, you know how I like to say, I talk about you when you do bad. I talk about you when you do some good too. He's a very controversial figure. Like Wendy. Charlemagne used to be Wendy's unpaid for like 18 months and unpaid on-air assistant. I read a little bit of the Variety article. But people feel about Charlemagne, I think in a similar way to Wendy, that people either really, really like him or people are like, yo, go fuck yourself. You're awful. I get it. I live it. I just pulled it up. How Charlemagne the God built his empire and is using his platform to lift up Black artists. He says, if what you build only benefits you, it's not big enough. The pictures are good. It's a good read. It's well written. Charlemagne has a very interesting story. He's 46. I don't know how old I thought he was. I didn't think he was 46, though. I didn't think he was 50, but I also didn't think he was 40. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm saying I'm surprised that he's 46. I didn't know he's 46. He grew up listening to the Tom Joyner morning show like everybody else who's around that age. His name, Charlemagne, his stage name. In French, it means Charles the King. He added the God. I knew this, though, because of the 5%ers, 5% Nation. But I was like, you really could have just left it as Charlemagne. Charlemagne the King. Charlemagne the King, the God. It's a little bit of overkill, but that's just me. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm incorrect. Charlemagne is for Charles the Great, not Charles the King. So Charles the Great, the God. Still overkill. Look kind of better than Charles the King, the God. That's like a little too like Jesus-y for me. Charles the Great, the God. Still redundant. But it works for him. Okay. It says, unlike the boisterous personality he displays on air, Charlamagne in private conversation is casual, candid, and quick to share moments of insight he's come to through years of therapy. He's now in business with some of the largest media companies in the world, but he does not live like a media mogul. He prioritizes the day-to-day stuff of his family, daily workouts with his wife, driving their four. I didn't know he had 4 kids. I knew he had kids. I know he had 4 daughters, aged 3 to 16, to cheerleading practice and dinner time at their suburban home. He and his wife have been together for 26 years and married since 2014. Let's see. He says, immersing himself in storytellers of all stripes was the thing that opened up his world. Judy Blume and Ghostface were the same to me. Charlamagne is name-checking Judy Blume like, hello, God, it's me, Margaret? Okay. I'm just happy he was reading. It talks about his business. He owns 51% of the Black Effect podcast network that he launched in partnership with iHeartMedia in 2020. He has a minority interest in another iHeart-backed podcast network, Reason Choice Media, which launched last year and focuses squarely on politics and policy issues. In 2020, he established a book imprint, Black Privilege Publishing, with Simon & Schuster. That's released 6 titles to date, including his 2024 bestseller, Get Honest or Die Lying While Small Talk Sucks. He had penned 2 previous books for the company's Atria imprint. Charlamagne and his longtime friend, Kevin Hart, also run SBH Productions, which has a lucrative pact with Audible for original audio content. SBH stands for Short, Black, and Handsome. Charlamagne said he was 5'6". I thought he was more like 5'9", 5'8". He said he's 5'6". I mean, that's not something he would lie about. He and his wife own 2 Crystal fast food restaurants with plans for 3 more. Is there anything else? I mean, not that that's like not enough. Like in addition to, hosting the Breakfast Club 5 days a week for 4 hours a day. Oh, the Brilliant Idiots podcast. It says Charlamagne launched the Brilliant Idiots podcast with comedian Andrew Schultz in 2013. No matter what else is on his schedule, he makes space for recording an episode each week with Schultz. Andrew Schultz is the one that's like beefing with Kendrick, right? Yeah, he's the one that nobody likes, at least not Black people. I don't really know much about Schultz. I just know people get on Charlamagne's ass. Kendrick allegedly, he didn't name check him, but Andrew Schultz was like convinced that Kendrick was talking about him on a new album. Oh, okay, I do remember this. K-Dot called out, I'm reading this on iHeart. It says K-Dot called out white comedians speaking on Black women. He says, don't let no white comedian talk about no Black woman, that's law. He said, though Kendrick didn't name a specific comedian, Schultz, who caught heat earlier this year for his take on the Black girlfriend effect. Oh, yeah, okay, I do remember this. On the Shits and Gigs podcast, they were talking about the Black girlfriend effect. And he said, men who date Black women, white men is the implication, start losing their hair from being so stressed, being around this Black girl that's complaining about shit all the fucking time. They grow a beard because there's more cushion when they get slapped. I think the Black girlfriend effect might be a protective instinct. Fuck him. Why is Charlamagne gallivanting with him? I guess sexism isn't a deal breaker. Insulting Black women isn't a deal breaker for a Black man, or at least for Charlamagne. Let's say that. Variety notes that Black Effect Podcast Network has surpassed more than 1 billion downloads. Really popular podcasts such as All the Smoke, 85 South, and Drink Champs are under their banner. Oh, I didn't know that at all. It says Charlamagne's latest push is the launch of a movie production company, Southland Stories. It's designed to bring to the screen the life and culture of the American South, which has been overshadowed in pop culture. That makes sense. He's from South Carolina. He says, I want to be at the forefront of this revolution through art and this disruption through art that's happening. You may not be able to find true American history in classrooms anymore, but you'll be able to find it in this documentary that Charlamagne is producing. Is he talking about himself in the third person? Charlamagne. Don't do that no more. And then they have like a little graphic of like all the things that he's into. I think we named everything. That's Charlamagne's money move. If you like Charlamagne, then you may be proud of him. You know who Charlamagne is. My dad knows who Charlamagne is. I guess he's on CNN, MSNBC sometimes. All my dad does is watch news. But he asked me one day, and he said, "Who is the Char?" And I was like, "Charlamagne." He said, "Yeah, that's him." Who is that? I was like, "He's a radio host. He has a really popular show." And he said, "Uh-huh, uh-huh." And I was like, "Do you like him?" He said, he was on the TV. Beautiful gowns. Beautiful gowns. Cardi B is also making money moves. Stop asking this lady for an album. I did find an article where they said she was talking about the album the other day, like 3 days ago. But I was like, yeah, she stayed talking about an album. She's been talking about an album like, every 6 weeks for like 5 years. This may be another Rihanna situation. This may be maybe more accurately a Dr. Dre situation. Because remember, people were asking for a follow-up to The Chronic for like ever. And he was like, yeah, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It took, 9, 10, 13 years? One of those. It took forever. It was great when we got it, though. In no way am I comparing Dr. Dre to Cardi B, but she does have a Grammy. It could be a Lauryn Hill situation. Lauryn Hill only has like one studio album. The Unplugged album, which I love. It's a live album from, Unplugged, MTV Unplugged. It's not like an actual studio album. She was supposed to go into the studio and make those songs into, proper songs where she played more than one chord on the guitar and her voice didn't crack. I remember that album first came out. I bought it bootleg in Chinatown. I drove up to New York one weekend with my mom, and I tried to play the CD. I say tried, because when it got to the parts where her voice kept cracking, my mom was like, absolutely not. She was like, we could listen to Patti LaBelle. Her voice don't crack. Celine Dion, Luther Vandross. We're not going to listen to no singer. My mommy said she can't sing. I was like, Mommy, you shouldn't say that. My mom said she can't even hold a note. And I said, Mommy, that's not representative. And she said, this is the album she put out, ain't it? She was going through something. That's why I liked the album. I felt it was raw. My mom was like, her throat was raw. And I was like, Mommy, are you being your best self? I still say that to my mom when she be acting up. Like, are you being your best self? And then she'd be like, did you want something else? That's her way of telling me I can go. None of this is the point. The point is Cardi is also making money moves. Oh no, this is an article about Offset showing his whole black ass again. Apparently Offset, according to Cardi, because she moved on. She's dating somebody new, an athlete, I think it is. She said Offset sent videos of him and Cardi having sex to the new dude that Cardi is dating. She said Offset has been calling her and threatening to kill her and also kill himself. I was like, what? So, usually I'd be like, you ain't got no group chat? You ain't got no friend circle? Where's Hennessy? I said that before on an episode, and somebody was like, Demetria, the girl's name is Hennessy. You expect her to have any better judgment than Cardi? And I was like, a point has been made, but don't judge the girl on her name. Just 'cause her name is Hennessy don't mean she don't have good sense. And they were like, if she had good sense, wouldn't Cardi be texting her instead of telling all of us? A point has been made. This time, I'm actually glad she said something. Like, if something happened to me, I want y'all to know who did it. Like, look at him. I'm not mad she told us. Maybe the only thing he responds to is public shame, and that's why she tells us these stories. This is also the same man he said to Cardi, I guess she's like 32, 33. He was like, you're 33 with 3 kids. And she was like, nigga, they all yours. Like, what? You're like the same age with 6 kids. Like, what? Offset's not like a... What if folks stay online? They talk about Nigerian parents and the way they like shade you without you really knowing you being shaded. Wisdom chases you, but you are too fast. That's like how you really call somebody stupid like that. None of this is the point. None of this is the point. Cardi is on the cover. It's not Variety. WWD has the exclusive. She just did a partnership with the Revolve Group and said she's going to be growing her business empire into a high-stakes fashion and beauty partnership. It sounds similar to Rihanna with Fenty and Savage Fenty. It sounds something similar to that. I think it would probably be very successful. Cardi is known for her makeup and hair. I mean, I don't know if hair falls under beauty, but whatever. She's known for her makeup. I follow her makeup artist, Erica. And she's known for her fashion, high fashion, and like, quote unquote, low fashion. Her Fashion Nova be real, real cute. And her red carpet couture be real, real cute. Her Met Gala look, she gives it, she serves. What do the nieces say? She ate. I could see it. I could also see we not getting no album no time soon. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. I think I said before, talking about Cardi, releasing an album may not be very lucrative for her. It may be a lot of work, but the ROI isn't right. The other stuff she does probably makes her more money with lower effort than producing an album. It seems to be a business plan that's working for her. She stays relevant. I'm just saying. What else do we have on our list? Oh, Lauren LaRosa from The Breakfast Club. She's got a new podcast coming out on Charlamagne's network. Yo, they might have played us. The whole Breakfast Club. It could be possible that beef wasn't for real. Lauren and Jess released a video, kind of like a Brandy and Monica Girl Is Mine thing called The Job Is Mine. And they're like singing real off key. I'm like, y'all got beautiful radio voices. The singing sissies, the singing. Find the key, my loves. Find the key. Wasn't it Mekhi Phifer was the guy they were trying to get at? 90s Mekhi. That was a god among mere mortals. He's still easy on the eye. Thick Mekhi, grown-ass Mekhi. I ain't mad at it. Oh, also, pause. Did y'all watch Survival of the Thickest? Wee-bey from The Wire, Hassan Johnson. Wee-bey is playing a therapist. Sir was like, what you won't do is typecast me. His voice is so beautiful. You know what's more beautiful than his voice, though? His face. Hassan Johnson, he wasn't bad on the eye back then. Time has been good to that man. What West Indian island your people from, sir? Because them cheekbones and that nose, that James Evans nose, beautiful bone structure. He looks like, yes. What you want? Yes. How you want it? Yes. DC, we like to say, if I got it, you could get it. Hassan Johnson. That man is beautiful. That's not the point. None of this is the point. The point is, in the Brandy and Monica video, they were fighting over Mekhi Phifer, who's also, then and now, a 25-year span. Also, yes. That's another one. Where you get them cheekbones from? What part of West Africa your people hailing from? But yeah, they put that little video together, and I was like, did they plan this in advance? Like, because everybody's talking about the Breakfast Club now. Everybody's tuned in. And then Lauren just announced, I think it's this week it starts. She has a new podcast on Charlamagne's network. What is it called? It's a whole bunch of L alliteration. Lauren LaRosa. Is that her real name? She has like a superhero name. The Latest with Lauren LaRosa. That's what her podcast is called. It's 5 days a week. It's tea and gossip, well reported. I said on Instagram, I might have said it on here, and I was like, oh, Lauren's young. I don't know if she fully understands. I take that back. I thought they was trying to play young Lauren like she dumb. Apparently not. Young ma'am might have just played us all. I admit when I'm wrong. I do. What else do we have on here? Anything super significant? Lizzo's doing something. She's playing Rosetta Tharpe. She just got cast, but there's nothing to really talk about. There's no trailer or anything. Is this our last story? No, we have one more after this. It's not a story. It's a bit of a review. Remember I talked about the show or the documentary, rather, on Apple with like with all like the major A-list actors, the Black actors, number one on the call sheet. It just came out. I'm not going to give too many spoilers away. I just want to talk about it a little bit. But before that, I want to talk about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. We call it Nerd Prom here in D.C. Comedian Amber Ruffin. She was originally announced as the featured entertainer. I'm reading this on AP, where she was supposed to, quote, roast the most powerful people on all sides of the aisle and the journalists who covered them. But after Ruffin referred to the Trump administration as, quote, kind of a bunch of murderers and made clear her focus would largely be on the president, she was out. People who plan the White House Correspondents' Dinner, they said that they weren't going to have any comedian at all. White House Correspondents Association's president, his name is Eugene Daniels. Is that the black guy? No. Eugene Daniels. It is the black guy. Wait, how did this happen, Eugene? Eugene is a friend of friends, so not too much on Eugene. But Eugene, he must have been very pressured. But I had to go look up to see if it was the black guy. Let me see. Where was I in the article? He said his group wanted to refocus the ritzy annual event on journalistic excellence and wouldn't have a comedian. He didn't make any mention of Ruffin's comments in a statement and didn't return a request for comment on Monday. Also, the president isn't expected to attend the dinner. Wasn't it the White House Correspondents' Dinner where Obama got in Trump's ass, and we think that that's why he decided to run for president and, ruin everybody's life? This whole thing started because Ruffin was on the Daily Beast podcast. Remember, I read you her quote before? It was from the Daily Beast. In addition to what I already quoted, she said she was told by the organization, you need to be equal and be sure that you give it to both sides. And I was like, there's no way. She also suggested the Trump team lacked a sense of humor. She said, quote, I think they get their feelings hurt. They want that false equivalency that the media does. And said it was unclear if she expressed that directly to the White House Correspondents Association or if she was just, talking on the podcast. The deputy chief of staff at the White House referred to Ruffin as, quote, a second-rate comedian. She posted Ruffin's podcast comments on X, i.e. Twitter, I'm just never going to call it that, and said, what kind of sensible, responsible journalist would attend something like this? Daniels, that's the Black guy who's the head of the organization, in his statement on Saturday, he said that he'd been planning for a couple of weeks to reimagine the dinner tradition. Quote, I want to ensure the focus is not on the politics of division, but entirely on awarding our colleagues for their outstanding work and providing scholarship and mentorship to the next generation of journalists. What's the real reason? Because I'm sorry, I just took a look at this man's page. I could just look at your attire and tell so much about you and your freedom. How did you arrive at this decision? I'm unclear. I would like to know, but apparently he's not speaking to press about it. Oh, dear. Amber girl would be all right. She'll be fine. Let's see. I think this is our last but not least. Is it? Oh, it's a piece of good Black news that I missed. You want it now? Yeah, you can have it now. Netflix ordered a pilot for A Different World. I think we talked about this. Netflix is doing it's not a reboot. It's like A Different World, 30 years later. I know some people were like, don't fuck up my show. Remember Netflix did that Good Times cartoon and it was horrific. And everyone was like, why would you do this to the Good Times franchise? Although one of my friends did reach out to me and they were like, did you watch the original Good Times franchise? It was nothing but Black stereotypes too. And I was like, no, I mean, JJ, yes. But I was like, Thelma and Michael and the daddy and the mama, I wouldn't say they were bad Black stereotypes. They were poor, yes. And they lived in the projects, yes. But they were dignified and sensible acting Black folk. Even JJ, most of the time. It got a little extra towards the end of the series run. But still, that's not the point. The point is, Netflix has ordered a pilot for a reboot or a sequel, if you will, for A Different World. I think what I originally read is supposed to be the kids or a kid of Whitley and Dwayne is their first season, Lisa Bonet. The show will center around her. I'm good with it. I think Grownish tried to fill that void a little bit, which I wasn't mad at. I don't think I ever watched an episode of that show, but people really loved it. It ran for several seasons. Yara Shahidi, I love that chick. Point is, Debbie Allen is involved in the show. And then also Gina Bythewood and her husband. I think Gina was around for the first run of the show. That gives me hope. And then also one of my friends, Felicia Pride, is she the EP or is she a writer? Hold on. Executive producer. Her credits include Grey's Anatomy and Queen Sugar. She's also a dope Black girl from Baltimore. I know folks are very nervous about this Different World reboot. There are very few people whose hands I would trust it in. Felicia Pride is one of those people. She got good sense. She hella Black. She watched the first version of A Different World in real time. There's hope here. We don't need to panic. It's going to be all right. They're not going to fuck up our beloved show. It might be different than the original, but it won't be fucked up. I can vouch for Felicia. Last but not least on our TV stuff, I mentioned Survival of the Fittest earlier when I was talking about Wee-bey. I watched the whole thing. It just came out, I don't know, last week, maybe last Thursday, last Friday, 27th, whatever day that was. It's really cute and it's really good. If you like Survival of the Fittest 1, you will like Survival of the Fittest 2. My only complaint, if you will, about the show is 8 episodes and I wanted more. It wasn't rushed, I didn't feel. I thought it was a good story, well told. It hit all the beats that it needed to hit. It was real cute. I just really liked the characters and I just wanted more. So at the end, when what happens, I was like, that's it? Ain't no more? That's it? So now I have to wait however long for season 3. Speaking of season 3, where's my show? P-Valley, where is my show? It was like, I feel this time last year, I interviewed Nico, and he was like, oh, we're taping. Y'all done finished taping. It's been enough time. It's been almost a year. I know y'all done finished editing. Where is my show? I've been sitting around with this man trapped in the trunk of a car for like 2.5 years. Where is my show? Stars, that means you. Where is my show? None of this is the point. Number 1 on the call sheet. It's on Apple. Part 1, part 2, 90 minutes each part. The first one is about the leading men in Hollywood. Literally, number 1 on the call sheet. I kept a list of the guys. I took more notes when the guys were talking. It has Lawrence Fishburne, Eddie Murphy, Kevin Hart, Denzel, Morris Chestnut, Reginald Hudlin, who's the producer, Jamie Foxx, who's also the producer of the documentary, Ice Cube, Don Cheadle, Taye Diggs, Martin Lawrence. I didn't put Will Smith on my list, but he's in here, and Michael B. Jordan. It's lovely. The men telling the stories about getting into Hollywood, and also, I would say, like, the brotherhood of Hollywood, how they each reached out to each other, how basically Sidney Poitier was guiding everybody. Denzel Washington wanted to be Sidney Poitier, and then also James Earl Jones. The Rock wanted to be bigger and better than Will Smith, and did. The intentionality of everyone. Like, Will Smith very much wanted to be a global superstar. It did not happen by accident. It was something that he very much thought about. Morgan Freeman was like, from the time I was a kid, like, I wanted to be famous. It didn't pop off to me until I was 50. Denzel, who's probably like the most accomplished of everyone there, was like, yeah, I just wanted to get paid $600 a week and do Broadway. He was like, I ain't really watch films. I still don't. It's like, Denzel, he's such an old Black man. Like, he just has no filter. But I can listen to him talk all day. I've said this multiple times because he's been doing more interviews. I was like, please tell me he is working on a memoir. That man is like a living testament for, like, he has kept me. Because once he starts talking and telling his stories, I'm like, you ain't here by accident. Like, somebody prayed for you. You have a praying grandmother, too. And some ancestors, because you was a lot. They needed reinforcement. They talked a lot about John Singleton, who apparently just helped everybody. Like, John Singleton, like, once he got on, he was like, everybody coming with me. They talked about Chadwick Boseman. Apparently, Chadwick Boseman is who we think he is. Like, is one of the greatest Black men ever to walk Earth. Michael B. Jordan almost lost it talking about Chadwick. Oh, Marlon Wayans. I don't think I had him on my list, but Marlon Wayans was in there. He said something I found so profound, like, I wrote it down. He said, you are as great as you work to be. You are as great as you work to be. And I was like, that'll preach. Idris. I don't think I said Idris on my list either. Idris is in there as well. The men's documentary, like, it was fun. It was like a big giant bromance. Like, it was really good. And then the women's documentary, Hallie's in there, Megan's in there, Ruth Nega is in there. She was like, I am well aware my last name sounds like nigga. And I didn't want to change it because my dad passed when I was a kid, and I didn't want to erase my family legacy. So y'all will deal. And honestly, I never even thought about her last name. Never once. Never crossed my mind. Alfre Woodard, Angela Bassett. So, what's the lady? Oh, why can't I remember her name? Minnie with the shit pie. Oh, what is her name? Octavia Spencer. Viola, she's in there. The women, it was just so much harder. So they were like, you would get cast and everybody wanted you to be like a sassy Black woman. And they would literally, put it in the description, like sassy Black woman. And then they talked about showing up to sets and their makeup would just be trash. Like, they'd put them in these horrible colors. They wouldn't know how to do their hair. Vivica Fox said that, what was the movie she was in with Will Smith? Independence Day. So she's like, I'm in this huge summer blockbuster with this, like, crazy budget, and the hairstylist doesn't know how to do my hair. And so she says, oh, I want you to have like this hair that's like really free and like blows in the wind, and it's going to be brown with blonde highlights. And so she was like, so I let her dye my hair because, she's a professional and I'm happy to be here. And she said, oh, my hair fell out. Then they did this montage about, because there's only been, is it one Black woman? Best Actress? Is it Halle Berry? Is she the only one? But they did this montage of Black women who have been nominated for Best Actress. And they actually put the clips from the nominations at the Oscars. And then one after the other, they name a Black woman and she loses to a white woman. going back to Diana Ross and I think Cicely Tyson were up for an award at the same time, and Liza Minnelli won for Cabaret. I only know because Lady Sings the Blues is one of my favorite films. Cabaret is amazing, but Diana Ross put on an acting clinic in Lady Sings the Blues, but didn't win. Cicely Tyson, I'm not even sure what role it was. I just know it was Cicely Tyson, so I know it was good. But they lost to Liza Minnelli. But they both lost to Liza Minnelli. And they just go through the years. Viola Davis, I can't remember what the role was, but she lost to Meryl Streep, who she loves. She loves Meryl Streep. But at the same time, Viola Davis is, she's equally as good as Meryl Streep. Or Meryl Streep is equally as good as Viola Davis. It was probably like 7 women in a row immediately being dejected, just watching somebody like be hopeful and then watch their face quickly fall when they lose and then have to pull it together because the cameras are on them and, cheer and applaud for someone else, knowing that it's been like decades since a Black woman won in the role. And I can't remember which actress pointed it out. And she was like, all these Black women, and it's been like years, decades since anybody won. Maybe it was Whoopi Goldberg. She's in there too. I was like, are you really saying that, nobody was good enough? She was one of the people in the montage. She never got an Oscar for The Color Purple, which I was like, again, acting clinic. After I watched the one with the men, I felt like, fuzzy and warm inside. And then I watched the one with the women and I just like, damn. I didn't feel warm and fuzzy. That's the episode. We covered a lot. It's a lot we didn't cover. Oh, bit of housekeeping. Still working on the King thing. I'm trying to figure it out. Hopefully for next week, because I got to get on a plane to South Africa to host this See Some World Cape Town trip too. And I'm still working on merchandise. We're going to do the drop a little different than we did before because I'm tired of y'all cursing me out because there wasn't enough merchandise. I think I'm just going to do pre-orders so everybody who wants something can get something. Y'all still going to curse me out because I know how y'all are now. I know. At least this is like a fair shot. So, it don't sell out in like 2 hours. And then people had to like, work and go in a meeting are like, are you kidding me right now? It's all going to work out. I'm on it. Oh, Cory Booker is still speaking. It's almost 6:00. He's going on hour 23. And according to folks online, he's even more fired up now than he was last night or this morning. Cory Booker, I confess that I have been imperfect. I confess that I've been inadequate to the moment. I confess that the Democratic Party has made terrible mistakes that gave a lane to this demagogue. I confess that we all must look in the mirror and say we will do better. It says, I don't want a Disney vacation of our history. I don't want a whitewashed history. I don't want a homogenized history. Tell me the wretched truth about America because that speaks to our greatness. That was 20 hours into the speech. Come on, Cory Booker. You're giving us hope, Cory. You're giving us hope. Thank you, Senator Booker. I didn't know you had it in you. I'm glad I wasn't right about that either. All right, now I'm done. Thank you for listening. I'm about to go cry. Thank you for listening. Talk soon. Talk next week. I guess it made more sense to say soon. We were doing twice a week. Like a week from now really ain't that soon, is it? My bad. All right. Talk Wednesday. Bye. Moment where the character of our country is being tested.